Hi, I'm Sandy Ray, founder of Sandra E. Ray CPA, where we alleviate financial headaches so that you can create a bigger impact. Today, I want to talk to you about QuickBooks Online and accounts payable integration. Whether you're a board member, a bookkeeper, part of the finance team, managing your accounts payable efficiently is just something that we do on a regular basis, whether it's daily or weekly. It's necessary to maintain a healthy cash flow and build strong relationships with our vendors. These vendors are people we depend on for services, keeping the lights on, all kinds of things that we're paying our vendors for. So today we're going to cover integrating your accounts payable process with QuickBooks Online. We're going to talk about some step-by-step instructions. Now, granted, those are going to be limited, but whatever app you choose, you will have instructions on how to integrate their app. But there's some very basic stuff we can cover. We're going to talk about optional tools to boost your efficiency, tips for staying on top of your payables, and just how to put all this into action. So the first thing I want to talk about is why we want to integrate. Integrating accounts payable and app can provide many different things that QuickBooks used to not be able to provide. QuickBooks now has an accounts payable application with approval processes, but it's still fairly new and I haven't used it a lot. I still have a lot of these applications that work very well, and I wanted to make you aware of them. These apps will help you organize and track your bills from all your vendors in one place. They will schedule and automate payments to avoid late fees and generate real-time reports to manage flow and plan ahead. And of course, they'll allow you to streamline approvals. Many of these apps like Bill.com have approval processes built right into them. And I know Bill.com has an audit log as well. So every transaction, everything that was done to it, there is a log that you can follow to see who did what. So steps to integrate your accounts payable application in QuickBooks Online. First, you want to make sure that you probably want to clean up or add your vendors to your QuickBooks. So you're going to go to the expenses and then navigate to the vendors. And you're going to look at each vendor and you're going to make sure you have their name that they want on there as payee, their full contact information, payment terms, tax ID numbers if you need them. It's just a good idea to go through those vendor lists once a year anyway. Make inactive vendors you haven't used in a couple of years, so we're only incorporating the current vendors. So then you're going to want to import your vendors into your application, and your application will give you the steps to do that. Either they're synchronized automatically or you can export them from QuickBooks and then import them into your application. And then we can get started. We can start paying bills. You can upload a bill to either QuickBooks or your application. You can enter the information. I prefer you enter it into the application. Like I said, we use Bill.com a lot. We've got all the audit logs that go along with it. Of course, QuickBooks has an audit log as well. Those are one of the things that you want to consider because sometimes you want to know who did what and when. So you're going to enter the date, you're going to enter the due date, the amount, you're going to assign it to the correct expense account. Maybe if it's a grant, you're going to assign a customer, a class for a program, something like that. So you're going to want to do all that within your application. And then you want to make sure that the bill and the PDF, the documentation is attached to the transaction. So you want that to be in the software as well. And then you're going to use the automated tools in your application to handle approvals. If you have certain vendors that need to be approved by certain staff members, or certain expense line items that need to be approved by certain staff members, or maybe you have a dollar amount that has to be approved by more than one person, then those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to build into your approval policies. And then the software will automatically select who those approvers should be, notify those approvers when there is an invoice for them to review and approve. And once all the approvers have gone through their process, only then will it show up to be paid by the appropriate person, an authorized signatory that's set up in the system. Many of these systems have auto pay and scheduled payments. So if you want to auto pay your rent, and you can do that on a regular schedule, that's one thing that you can do. If you have a team member who's an independent contractor and their monthly amount or their weekly amount is the same, there's another thing that you can automate so that you have to spend less time dealing with those kinds of things. You're just going through and either you're automating the entry and it's still going through the approval process, or you're automating the payment because you have approved that payment. And then, of course, these things will seamlessly sync with QuickBooks. So what in the application, you'll also see in QuickBooks. Now, for credit card transactions, there's applications like Bill, Spend, and Expense, Expensify, SAP's Concur. All of these have phone applications very similar to many of the credit card transaction or applications that are out there that will allow you to upload the receipt. But the nice thing about these applications is that they will let you code the expense account for the transaction. So the employee who's uploading the receipt can then say, this was office supplies, or this is program supplies, or travel expense, paying for hotel to attend an event, those kinds of things. So those applications will also integrate with QuickBooks. It'll bring those transactions into QuickBooks, and those credit card receipts will automatically be attached because they were attached by the application. So as you can imagine, these tools are game changers. They really save you time. They improve accuracy of data entry. They document our internal controls process. It's just amazing what these processes or these applications can do and why I'm recommending them. Once you get everything in, of course, you need to pay. So you need to go to your app dashboard, or you can go to your accounts payable in QuickBooks and determine what's going to be paid. Once you've gone through all the approvals, the app pulls up the due dates, you still need somebody to say, okay, this is how much cash we have in the bank, and click off the items that they want to pay that day. And this should be an authorized signatory, and only an authorized signatory should be allowed to do this. And then when the items are paid, now the app is going to sync with QuickBooks. So the transaction for the vendor bill and the payment is going to come into QuickBooks. Then we have our automation with our bank feeds. So those transactions are going to come through our bank feeds. We want to make sure that you're only matching these transactions, that you're not adding, because if you start to add or categorize, you're going to duplicate that transaction. So anything that comes through these apps have to be matched. So the person that's handling the bank feeds needs to understand that and really look. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find it. Watch your filtering dates, watch your vendor names. It may come through a little bit differently from the bank than it did from the application. But you really want to make sure that you're matching those in order to avoid duplication. And then, of course, if there is any duplication, that will be found with your bank reconciliation. So if you've got reconciled something and then there are still items outstanding that you know that were paid, that's where I would look for a duplication. If your staff is trained to do this correctly, that issue shouldn't happen or happen very rarely. So this really is a game changer by using these applications. Just a few tips to get the most out of your applications that you're using. You want to enter your bills or upload your bills at least weekly to stay ahead of the due dates. You want to use vendor-specific terms and due dates. You want to automate the due date calculations. Some of the AIs now will pull the due date from the vendor invoice, which is really nice. You're just going to want to confirm that's correct. We want to look for a discount. So maybe the due date is the 30th, but they give you a discount if you pay by the 15th. So you're going to want to maybe update that to the 15th. Most of these applications will set out alerts to the appropriate people so that we keep moving through the approval process and the payment process in a timely manner. And then again, we want you to, on a monthly basis, another reconciliation I want you to do is I want you to pull that aged payables summary report out of your application, the aged payables summary report out of QuickBooks. I want you to compare them, and they should be the same given the month end date. If they're not, maybe there was a sync issue that has to be resolved. So you're going to want to investigate the differences. So that's just another thing to help keep the books really clean and make sure that both the application and QuickBooks are on the same page. Again, you're going to want to regularly review your information for your vendors to ensure that payment details are up to date. Some of these applications allow you to use a virtual card. So maybe you select a virtual card for a vendor, and then you select another virtual card for a different vendor. That always helps if the card information is compromised. You only have one vendor that you have to change. So that's the beauty of these virtual cards. There's e-payments, there's checks, and then there's these virtual cards. Some of these applications even do international payments as well. They handle that for you very well. And you're going to want to make sure that in reviewing your information, not only do you have the payment method that's desired by the vendor, but you also have their W-9 information, and that's entered into the application correctly so that we have all of our 1099s are just really easy to process. All the information's already in the system, just a few clicks and a quick review, and 1099s can go out the door. So to wrap up, I want you to start by reviewing your current vendor list and your bills. Clean up any data that needs to be cleaned up, and then follow the steps to integrate your AP process application or your credit card process application. If you're handling more than a few bills a month, or you need an approval workflow, I really recommend these applications. Explore tools like Bill.com, Melio, and Ramp. Many of them offer a free trial. Obviously, there's demos, so you can get a sense of how they're going to work. So I encourage you to log into your QuickBooks Online, update your vendors, make sure you have the 1099 information, choose and connect any of these automation tools that fits your workflow, set up the app, and then manage your accounts payable efficiently. I hope this was helpful for you today. And if you have any questions on this or other topics, please put that in the comment section. We'd be glad to respond to them. And of course, we always appreciate your likes. I want to thank you for joining me today. And remember that creating a bigger impact starts with stopping the nonsense. If you're dealing with nonsense in your nonprofit organization, we'd love to help you cut through the noise.